We were training him to identify all these different objects. He learned to identify like 50 objects in 7 colors and 5 shapes and quantities up to about 6 over the years. But the issue was we started with objects that he wanted to obtain. So it was very easy to teach him to label those things because, hey, these were fun. He wanted the wood to chew on and the paper to tear apart and things. Then we started getting to objects that weren't quite as much fun. So we had to teach him the label want, so that he could ask us for what he wanted as his reward, to separate identification from requests. But sometimes he still just didn't want to work, and he started with this little no type thing when he didn't want to work. Or he'd do things like we'd show him an object, and if he were not working with us, we'd say, well, I'm going to go away, I'm going to give you a timeout. So he learned to say, I'm going to go away, and he'd walk to the edge of the perch and away from us. Sometimes he'd give us all the wrong answers. So if the answer was one color, he would repeat the 6 wrong colors several times. Why did he do that? I think it was more fun for him, made it more interesting. I mean, I think at some point, if he could have said, I've already done that, he would have. Because, I mean, I would need, 60, sometimes 100 trials for statistical significance. Yeah. He would zip through the first dozen or even 20 trials because it was fun, it was a new project, and then it was like, hello. Yeah, we've done this. We've done this already.
Don't make me do it again.
Yeah, it's boring.
You describe in your book, which I must interject is a wonderful book. What a wonderful read. In any event, you say that during your years at Purdue, you and Alex are like vagabonds, as I recall.
Well, we did not have our own lab space, basically. They shifted us from whatever was convenient from one place to another. I think we had, I don't know, at least 3, maybe 4 different laboratories, depending on who needed what space. So, it was just, okay, whatever, as long as you let me do the work, we'll do it. But it was really difficult because each time we moved the lab, it interrupted the training.
Oh, sure it did. And I would imagine that it was difficult for Alex initially to make those transitions. Am I wrong about that?
No, it was, hey, this was different space. Is it safe? And it took him a while to get used to each space. Yeah.
Describe some of the tests for colors and shapes. Tell the audience a little bit what that was all about.
Well, the idea was, could an animal understand categories, okay? And categories in a hierarchical sense. The idea is not just that this is, what's green and what's not green, but that green and blue and yellow, et cetera, formed a category that could be lumped under the term color, and another category like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 corner that could be lumped under shape, and paper, wood, and rawhide under material. So the idea was learning a categorical concept label, color, shape, matter, and then learning which colors went under that, so that I could show him an object that had color and shape and material and say, Alex, what's this? Block. What color? Green. What shape? 4 corner. What matter? Wood. So he understood all those concepts. And it also meant that I was getting away from rote responses, so that when I showed him this object, he never knew, what to say until he heard me ask a question. And
wow,
so,
that is significant.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. So it was not simply stimulus response. Oh, I see this thing. Every time I see this thing, I say green.
He had to think.
He had to think. He had to wait for my question.
Wow.
How many orange block? How many orange block? Say better. You're right. How many orange block? You were right, but it wasn't clear. 6. Good parrot.
Another particular comment that Alex sometimes would make was the use of I'm sorry. So I can't wait to ask you this. Did he feel remorse?
No, there was absolutely no contrition. It was what he learned to diffuse a tense situation. It's the same thing that you see ritualized in animals, where a dog will present its jugular as if to say, I'm sorry, kill me, it's okay. And of course that diffuses an aggressive situation. And so Alex learned to say, I'm sorry, to do that. And it started because he was sitting on a perch, and I had some coffee, and I wanted to go outside for something. And I put the coffee cup away from where I thought he could possibly get it. And I come back, whatever, later, and there he is on the floor with the coffee cup in pieces all around him. And of course, the first response, like any mother-type person, you said, ah, you know, what happened? How did you do that? And then you stop and go, this is a bird. You know, and you're ranting. It's not his fault. This was an interesting thing. He went to explore it. He knocked it off the shelf. He ended up there, and then, of course, you're worried that he's hurt. So you pick him up and say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And he put the two together. Oh, she's yelling at me, and then she says, I'm sorry. If I say this, she'll stop yelling at me.
Wow.
And that's where it came about.
What a great story.
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, the leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.